Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of You May Have a Job, but You Still Need to Get a Life. Today on the show I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite movies, then sharing a little surprise, and then talking about another movie that should have been made probably a long time ago, but never got made. Okay, so I'm going to go from 10 to 1, so save the best for last. Number 10 favorite movie is the movie Kingpin. It has Woody Harrelson, Randy Quaid, and Bill Murray. It's all about hustling at bowling, and they hustle people till they can't pay up, and then the one guy gets his hand cut off in the ball return, and then they end up just doing the right thing at the end, and it's a pretty good movie. Number 9 is The Benchwarmers with Rob Schneider and John Heder and David Spade. And that's a pretty good movie. It's kind of a really hilariously funny movie, but it's also about anti-bullying, which is really good. Don't bully people. That's crap. Number 8 is the movie called AI, and it was starring Haley Joel Osment. I do believe is the kid. He's the brother of Emily Osment, who was on Best Friend on Hannah Montana TV show. And that was a pretty good sci-fi movie. I really enjoyed it, but it kind of didn't really have a happy ending. It just kind of ended. The kid was a robot, and he was frozen in the ice until the aliens came and thawed him out, and they let him spend one last day with his mom, and then it was all over. Kind of sad, kind of a sad ending. It was a pretty good movie though. It's worth checking out. Number 7 is a movie called Baseketball, and this is a movie that was starring Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and they're the guys that created South Park, and they do a lot of crazy crap in this movie too, but then they all of a sudden end up doing the right thing and sticking up for the little guy. It's just kind of hilarious. If you know South Park, you know that those guys are funny. And okay, let's go and move on to number 6 is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Very hilarious movie, in my opinion. It stars George Clooney, and he was put in jail for practicing law without a license, and they break out of jail in the chain gang, and they do all sorts of crazy crap, and they all end up going into a music studio. And the guy who works in the music studio is blind, so he doesn't really know that they're escaped convicts from the chain gang, and they record this song, and the song is so great, and everybody loves it, and they give him a presidential pardon for all the crimes they committed. It was just hilarious, and I think he ends up getting married to the gal in the end. It's a pretty good movie. Number 5 is a movie that's starring Liam Neeson. It's called Schindler's List, and it's basically about the Nazi Holocaust, and this guy named Schindler, and he was a tremendous hero. He saved a lot of Jews from going to the extermination camps, and he made a list of specific people that he wanted to stay working for him so their families could survive and not be sent to the death camps. And then when the war was over, they just, they really paid homage to him because he was such a hero, and the Jews that still survive still visit his grave every year. It was one of the hardest parts for me to watch was when the children were hiding in the toilet. It broke my heart so terribly bad because the one kid tries to hide in the toilet, and the other kids that are already in there say, "Get out of here. This is our place to hide." Oh, that hurt so bad. Putting children through that, it's just... But yeah, the movie is really excellent. It has a good ending, a good warm ending that, the Jews survive. They help people helping people, not destroying. Okay, number 4 is the Sasquatch Gang. And that is starring a dude named Justin Long. It's just a lot of crazy crap. it's kind of hard to explain. They put a fake turd out in the wilderness, and they try to get these reporters to come in and say that they have a Sasquatch sighting because they found a Sasquatch turd, and all these kids that they do LARPing and they do all these sci-fi things. It's they just do a bunch of crazy crap. It's very funny. Okay, number 3, I do believe, is Napoleon Dynamite, starring a guy named John Heater. And again, that movie is put on by the same people that did the Sasquatch Gang, and there is no real point to the movie, just really a lot of odd things that happen. But it's a great movie. It's a great movie because it's so odd that it makes you go like, what? And that whole what the hell concept is like makes it funny. You know, they just do a bunch of odd stuff, and it's a great movie. Number 2 is a kind of a documentary. It's called Joe Kid on a Stingray, The History of BMX. I'm a huge BMX fan from way back in the 80s and the late 70s. And this is a documentary movie about how the sport of BMX evolved from the early years in the late 70s into, trick riding and then ramp riding, and then what they do today in the X Games with all the super ramps and all the, triple backflips and all the variations on the backflip they do, and they do all sorts of spinning tricks and whatnot. And it's really cool. But this movie starts to elevate the evolution of the early days when kids used to do just bunny hops, and they used to do the spacewalk, and it has a lot of really one of my famous heroes, Mike Buff, is in the movie, but it has all the other pioneer guys like Bob Harrow. I can't think right now, but and Mike Miranda. I can't think right, but it has all the early pioneers of the BMX scene, and it's just a super movie. And if you're into that, maybe you should check it out. Okay, number 1 movie is just hilariously funny. It's called Idiocracy, and it was made by Mike Judge, and Mike Judge is the guy who created Beavis and Butthead. And the movie actually stars Luke Wilson and Maya Rudolph. Luke Wilson's character is a military librarian, and he's getting maybe just a year away or maybe 2 years away from his pension, where he can get a military pension and not have to work anymore. And his job is super easy. He doesn't want to leave it, but his sergeant comes down there to the library and says, you don't do nothing here. Nobody ever comes in here, so we're going to volunteer you. We're forcing you into volunteering for a cryogenics experiment. And it's supposed to be only for 3 months, 6 months or something like that. But in the cryogenics, when he was in the cryogenics, he ended up getting woke up about 500 years in the future instead of 3 months. And then instead of getting smarter and smarter like you'd think what they did in Buck Rogers, where Buck Rogers in the 25th century, when people had elevated to being smarter and had all sorts of other technology. But in this movie, Idiocracy, people have gotten dumber and dumber and dumber. So when he wakes up to this society, he's basically the smartest man in the world because everybody has gotten so dumb. And it just all the crazy crap that goes on. Trying to make everybody realize what's wrong. And they the one thing in there, I think Terry Crews is also in the movie too. And they're feeding their crops with Gatorade. They call it Brondo, but basically it's Gatorade. And they have a Gatorade fountain. Everything they use for water, like watering their crops, is like this Gatorade stuff, and it's killing all the crops. And they only give Luke Wilson's character a presidential pardon if he can cure the food shortage problem. And right there he goes, you have to give the crops water and not Brondo. They don't believe him at first, but he eventually proves his point, and he gets to, everything works out, and they're all friends in the end. It's just watch it. It's a good movie. Okay, that's my top 10 list for now. Now I'm going to share one more thing here real quick with you. And then a look, sort of a little collector's item here. And you can see this. Yeah. It's a Clyde Drexler Wheaties box. It's never been opened. It's like from way back in the early 90s, I do believe. And I keep it in this plastic bag. So, you know, cereal's probably gone rotten, but I'm going to keep it in here for a collector's item. Maybe somebody would think it's cool, or maybe give me like $100 million. I don't know. Ugh. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about is a movie that they shouldn't have made, but they should have made, but they never have. First of all, there was a movie called Shallow Hal, and the guy gets a hex put on him to see really fat women as slim women, as a slim woman, and he sees this one fat woman as a slim woman, and he ends up loving her for her personality. And then when they take the hex off, he basically ends up still being in love with her, even though she's really overweight. And the point I'm trying to make is they probably should have made another movie called Shallow Sally instead. Because they made Shallow Hal making men look bad for wanting a girl for her looks facially and for her body being slim and shapely, and not an ugly girl who's really fat, which is, if you should always want the type of person you want. Some people like fat girls, some people like skinny girls, some people like short girls, some people like tall girls. Like what you like. Don't try to stereotype yourself into, feel free to like what you like. And don't let anybody else tell you what to like. Because, see, kind of in that movie, they were kind of making it, it's kind of hard to describe. They shouldn't have made that movie like that, because what if they made a movie called Shallow Sally, and there's this really hot chick, and they put a hex on her, and her hex is that she has to see this really fat guy, and he has a crappy car, and he still lives at home with his mom. But the way she sees him is that he's a really handsome man, and his car is really expensive and fancy, and his mom, and his house is just a mansion, and his mom is just basically like a roommate. She doesn't really see him for what he really is. And then when the hex wears off, oh, is she really going to stay in love with him again? No. She's going to say, bye, and go into a hot guy. So, they should have made a Shallow Sally movie. They only made the men the bad guys. They should have made one where, girls have that problem too. They're going to say, bye-bye, fat guy, bye-bye, ugly guy, bye, guy, poor guy. That's just the way it is. So, they should have made, if they're going to make a Shallow Hal movie, they should have made a Shallow Sally movie. That's the point I'm going to make on this here episode of You May Have a Job, but You Still Need to Get a Life. So, that's about it. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time when I find some other crappy video to make. So, bye-bye.